Mr. Brown, bitte kommen Sie zum Rednerpult. Danke.
Good morning. I'm Corbit Brown, and I'm a speaker for the organization Keeper of the Mountains. I've traveled 6,000 kilometers to be here today to speak to you. Excuse me. And I want to thank you for having me. My home in West Virginia is known as the Mountain State because it's in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains. Biologists call these mountains a Noah's Ark of biodiversity because there are thousands of species of plants and animals that exist there, some of them that exist nowhere else in the world. It's quite a beautiful and impressive place. But I want to share with you three things today. First, I want to explain to you what is mountaintop removal. Secondly, I want to tell you why mountaintop removal is such a problem. And lastly, I want to explain to you why this is related to Credit Suisse. So first, what is mountaintop removal? Mountaintop removal coal mining is a process where massive explosions are used to literally blow the entire top of the mountain off. I've brought pictures to help you. It's really unimaginable. In fact, every week the mountains in West Virginia are subjected to explosions that equal the intensity of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Every week. The remains of these explosions are pushed into the surrounding valleys, creating valley fills. These valley fills clog the headwaters of our stream and rivers, and they leach poisons and toxic heavy metals into our water supplies. In just a few short years, the coal industry has managed to level 500 mountains and bury more than 2,000 miles of streams and rivers. Why is this a problem? Well, our governor in West Virginia is very happy to brag about the fact that for the last 3 years, despite a decline in domestic sales of coal, West Virginia has realized great profits and great records in exports of coal, particularly to Europe and Asia. And while these exports may have been wonderful for the coal industry, they were bringing death and illness and poverty to the people of my state. The 5 regions in West Virginia that produce the most coal are among the poorest in the entire United States. And in fact, now we find that we also have the most health problems of any area in the entire United States. I've brought with me summaries, and I won't read this to you, of more than 20 peer-reviewed scientific studies that are showing that people who live in mountaintop removal communities are far more likely to suffer from heart attack, birth defects, lung disease, liver disease, kidney disease, cancer, premature death. In fact, women in McDowell County, one of the largest coal-producing areas in West Virginia, have the shortest life expectancy of any demographic in the entire United States. In spite of all this, our government refuses to even acknowledge these studies or do anything to curb this practice. So this brings me to my last point. How does this involve Credit Suisse? I want to tell you that people in the United States always think of the Swiss as the great protectors of human rights and as people who love their mountains. And in fact, I think you should be rightly proud of your beautiful mountains. But when we found out that your bank was financing mountaintop removal and companies that do that, we couldn't believe it. How could a country that loves its mountains so much be involved in the financing of the devastation of another country's mountains? In your sector policies and guidelines, I'm going to read this so I can get it exactly right. Mountaintop removal is listed under excluded activities involving mining companies. Your document states in Section 3, quote, Credit Suisse will not directly finance or provide advice on operations to extract coal or other resources where mountaintop removal mining practices are used. My two questions for you then are, what exactly does this policy mean, and why doesn't Credit Suisse follow through with it in a meaningful way? I believe we need answers. Examples of your involvement. Arch Coal was the third largest producer of MTR coal in West Virginia last year, producing nearly 3 million tons of coal from this process. We know that as recently as November 20th, 2012, Credit Suisse was the lead arranger and book runner for a $250 million loan to Arch Coal. And on an annual basis, Credit Suisse has been involved as a co-manager of bond issues for Arch. Credit Suisse also entered a $300 million loan with SR Global on May 15th of 2012. SR Global produced over 1.5 million tons of mountaintop removal coal in West Virginia through its subsidiary SR Energy. And on August 4th, you entered into a $1 billion loan with Met Invest, another company which has significant operations in my state. While these companies may not have asked for the money in order to directly practice mountaintop removal coal mining, when you finance these companies, you are supporting mountaintop removal coal. And then you support that, as you support that, you are continuing to support the companies that profit from the poisoning of my people's air, their water, and their soil. So I have today a bottle of water that you gave me when I came through the door. And I have to tell you, it's quite delicious. Very beautiful. This is what our water used to look like. And now I'm going to share with you, in the same bottle, water from my home. This water came from a kitchen tap from a home in West Virginia. This water is a direct result of mountaintop removal coal mining. I'm certain that none of you can imagine bathing your children in this water, much less allowing them to drink it, and yet it's an unfortunate reality for many families in West Virginia. So while these may be merely policies and procedures for you, for my people, they're matters of life and death. Mr. Dugan and shareholders, at this time, Credit Suisse is part of the problem. And I want to ask you to become a part of the solution. Someone must take the lead to stop financing mountaintop removal. This is now your opportunity and your privilege. Stop financing policies abroad that would be unimaginable here in your own country. As you stop financing these things, other banks will follow. You have to take the lead. I want to challenge you to do that which is in line with justice, compassion, and a healthy environment. These things must be a part of your bottom line. The future of our mountains, our communities, our air, and our water is in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your contribution. You made your point very clear and succinct. We will answer your question in German. Und ich möchte jetzt.
And I would like to ask our Chief Risk Officer, Mr. Goldiman, to make his statement in reply to Mr. Brown's question regarding mountaintop removal. Credit Suisse subjects all its transactions and client relationships to detailed analysis, and Mr. Brown said we have explicit instructions spanning direct funding of such projects, and we comply with these instructions. In addition, we were reviewed by two American non-government organizations looking into our instructions, our policies, and as far as coal mining is concerned, in the past 3 years, we received the best mark of A in these investigations. So I think we are doing enough to avoid such projects. Thank you, Mr. Goldiman. Mr. Kallenberger is the next speaker, to be followed by Mr. Urs Troxler from Schlieren.